Hey, the rich and famous are doing it. Even
I-
ordinary Americans are doing it. Should we be? Should we be building a bunker? We're going to talk about it next on the StreamLeader Report. Let's do a show.
It's the StreamLeader Report Live Panel. Creators talking to creators. Raw, real, and unscripted. And sometimes they say the quiet part out loud. Here are your hosts, Claudia Santiago, Rebecca Gunter, Rob Greenlee, and Ross Brand.
Hey, gang, welcome to the StreamLeader Report. I'm Ross Brand. The show is the StreamLeader Report. And joining me from ClaudiaSantiago.com is international recording artist Claudia Santiago. Hopefully, Rob Greenlee will be joining us soon. And Rebecca Gunter won't be here today as Rob makes his way in shortly. Rebecca is celebrating Sweet 16 for her daughter. So we wish Rebecca and her daughter a wonderful, sweet time today and this weekend. And meanwhile, we have the great Hall of Fame podcaster, Podcasting Tips with Rob Greenlee, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. I'm sorry I got here a couple minutes behind.
No worries. We're rolling right into a hot topic today. And Claudia, you're the one who suggested this topic, and I've taken a look at some things about it, and I've got to say that the topic of bunkers definitely taps into some of the worst fears of what life on this planet could be like, and thinking of why people might want a bunker. What did you find out when you were looking into the topic of the rich and famous in particular building these big bunkers on their property?
Right. So, first of all, I kind of came across it, not because I was particularly looking for that. I was just open up my phone to look at the news feed, and I read something about Zuckerberg purchasing property on Hawaii, and he's got this big team working, and they're under some kind of a clause in their contract that they can't post on social, they can't talk about it, and it's all about his bunker. Now, as you know, and maybe some of you that are just joining StreamLeader Report, now I actually am a survivor of a civil war. And going way back, so even though this whole bunkers thing seems kind of new, actually going way back and in war times, this is actually not something too new. I mean, even look at how the Egyptians built. Hello. They had all kinds of underground stuff going on. But I guess for our topic today is I was intrigued. And my little curious minds want to know, little brain was thinking, now with new technology, with AI, with brain implants, with, how are these bunkers going to look? How are they functioning differently? Anyway, so that's kind of one of my little angles. I left you speechless.
Yes. There's
I
so
took
many
it around
directions.
back, right?
There's so many directions to go with this. I don't even know where to begin. But let me throw this out, and then I'm curious. Is the primary reason to survive a nuclear apocalypse or a much more dangerous pandemic? Is it because they're planning something and they know what's coming? Or is it they're afraid of our traditional global enemies or extraterrestrials or the failure of technology? All of the above, none of the above? What is motivating these folks to buy all the material and spend all the money necessary for something which they may or may not ever spend time in?
Right. Right. You know, I just want to maybe bring a personal story to this. Actually,
Sure.
we lived in the States for a few years, and boy, you know you're in the States when all of a sudden you cross the border and the Mexican food's just like amazing, out of the park, right? And the barbecue and how they put up flags, you know, all over the streets on Independence Day. Oh, anyways, and they all carry guns. It's like you're not in Canada anymore. But our neighbor, okay, this was really wild because I had never had a neighbor in Canada all my life that literally they, you know, they were amazing people. And they, you know, were having a chit chat with them because we saw that they had their truck and they had this big trailer that they would load up every weekend. And it was like, wow, you guys going camping? Like, what are you guys doing? And they said, actually, we purchased a property way out in the mountains. And they had all kinds of things that were being, they would order and they would be delivered to their house and they'd fill up their trailer and they would go out to this property. And we're going, oh, okay. Like, what are you doing out there? Well, it turns out they're building a bunker. And it's way out there. And they would do shopping trips to Costco. They'd stock up. They would go and they'd start like preparing this shelter. And honestly, at first, as a Canadian, I'm going like, what the what? And he would tell us certain things that were happening in the States or worldwide. And it was almost like he had this intelligence that just would blow your mind. And at first, to be honest, I'm just gonna be real honest, I thought he's whacked. Like, what, like conspiracy theorist, you know, whatever. But you know what? Now, all the things he was talking about back then, this was years ago. It's like all surfacing. It's like this guy was not far off.
Well, Joey Garrity brings in an interesting point. She says, personally, if the world is coming to an end, no bunker for me. I wouldn't want to be here when people come out of their bunkers. LOL, just saying. I've heard the expression that the living will envy the dead if it comes to a situation where you would need to be in a bunker and such, unless you have a really good bunker and security. And I don't know. I mean, how do you keep, I don't know, how do you keep safe air in there? How do you keep power in there? And I mean, you have to not be connected to the grid whatsoever, because we're talking about probably a situation in which either there's a cyber attack on the grid or an EMP, low level, like nuclear situation, that basically takes out our grid, and we don't know how to live. I mean, we just have no capability of producing food, of seeing, of
we're back to the Stone Age, right?
Within minutes. And that's where, you know, having a bunker to hide out for a little bit might be good, or it might just be delaying the inevitable. I don't know. Rob, you want to be in a bunker when that happens? You want to be hit by the missile and not have to know anything about it? Or you want to be out there fighting your neighbor for the last squirrel or whatever?
Exactly.
I think this whole concept has been around for a long time. I mean, if you think about even going back to basic things like tornado bunkers in the Midwest and things like that people run down in to avoid getting swept up by a tornado. So this concept has been around for a long time, but I think what's different now is this concept of, you know, building a bunker that you can live in for months, possibly. And that's what we're seeing here with these billionaires. Is it's not just for a random event kind of protection. This is for a very disruptive type of event. And increasingly, if the billionaires are are doing this now, though I think a lot of them have been doing it for a long time. So I'm not really sure this is entirely as new of a thing as it's being portrayed. But I do think it's a sign of a lot of worry that exists in our society and our culture. I don't know if you saw that Netflix movie, but that was co-produced by Barack Obama about the end of the world, as far as it was basically, like you said, Ross, a EMP type of an explosion, which is an electromagnetic weapon, right? Which is most likely what would happen, right? Would
Right.
be that type of thing, because our enemies are not going to want to destroy the infrastructure of this country. What they want is to take it down so it's easy to conquer, potentially, if that's what the goal is. So, but you really don't want to blow everything up. That's kind of and have radiation everywhere. So these bunkers are really, really to protect against that type of an attack, I think, or a biological weapon or something like that. And to be able to ride it out for some period of time. Though there may not be much, like was said earlier, there may not be much to come up above ground
Right.
after something like this happens.
Comic Crusaders mentioned the movie that you mentioned that Obama produced, and that's taking a look at one of the horrible scenarios. And I think you mentioned in the chat that it's maybe 10 to 15 years off that threat. I'm not so sure. I just think
it can happen
I think we're
anytime.
very lucky in a lot of ways that the wrong people haven't gotten their hands on it. But given the level of global competition and animosity right now, the powers that do not like the United States right now and would think that we're an obstacle to what they want to do,
Yeah.
have that capability.
Well, and space weapons is increasingly becoming, I don't know if you heard in the news today, but
Yeah.
there's some threat warnings going out from
Yeah.
the White House about some sort of space threat. They're pointing at Russia, but it could be really any it could be a bunch of different countries that have space weapons now that could be deployed. So I don't know if it's hard to tell if this is just fear mongering or if it's just
trying to get support for an aid package, or
yeah. I mean, there can be a lot of agendas behind this kind of worry and discussion, but all I know is it's really a blatant disregard for regular people, right? Because if they're going to throw out things that are going to instill fear, you have to wonder what the real motivation of doing that is.
Exactly.
But granted, I mean, are we going to be prepared for whatever this is based on what they've told us? I mean, sure, let's go out and get our backup supply of food and our backup supply of water and have a generator and things like that. But,
how do you power the generator?
well, you're going to have to power it with some, like propane, or you're going to have to power it with some sort of fuel, right? That you'll have to have
Right.
tanks.
And I guess if you're like Zuckerberg or somebody of that level of
Yeah,
wealth,
you can
bury
have
a
a huge tank.
huge
Right.
storage. But where we're living, in normal size houses and apartments and stuff, where do
It's
people
above
keep?
ground, right?
Yeah, where do people keep all that stuff? They don't. I mean, there's not enough room to keep the propane to power your generator for what, more than a day or two or hours.
Well, I mean, you can get large propane tanks. I've done it for some properties that I've had in the past where you can, have these 200-gallon propane tanks or something like that can be located on your property. You actually lease them and they just come out and fill it up. It's kind of like having an oil tank.
Somebody will steal that in 2 seconds if we're in a lawless bunker.
It's a little hard to move those.
Okay.
They're pretty heavy and big, especially when they're full. Right.
I found it interesting when I was kind of digging into this a little bit more, was that it seems like a lot of the tech giants are really investing in islands and in properties and the bunker thing, which is really interesting to me because years back, that probably wouldn't have been the thing. It was just kind of the people with the money and fear mongering. But there's so much power in tech, in these tech giants, that
Lots of money too. Right.
it's a lot of money and a lot of power, a lot of influence. I mean, influencing elections, everything, right? So I found that quite interesting. For one, there was obviously bunkers too that had like, they just looked like a friggin' resort. They had golf courses and pools and all that kind of thing. But I find it interesting also that someone like Elon, who has been investing in space, and so, we're going under the earth and we're going above the hemispheres. And it, I don't think it's as much fear mongering, to be honest. I think that.
So you think it's a legitimate?
Well, when we think about it, think about, you own a business. Okay, you own a business, and that business has grown and has a lot of staff, revenue, has a lot of investment. Okay, well, are you going to protect that? Is there a legitimate reason to protect from cyber attacks, from any kind of, what is it? They use a term. What was it? Bruce was talking to me about last night. Is it blackout events? Or some they call
rolling
it
blackouts kind of thing, or
like a certain type of event. Like COVID was kind of one of those, but it was, when the stock market crashed years back.
Oh, black swan event.
That's it.
Right.
The black swan events. So in history, we see that there have been black swan events. So I don't think it's as much conspiracy as, I mean, obviously when you look at some of these bunkers out, like totally overblown. But when I look at this, I go, there might be some intelligence there. Is it as bad as maybe they make it out to be, to put this amount of money into stuff? I don't know. What do you think, Rob? You've got the level-headed. He's our anchor.
Head.
Rob's our anchor. I always go to Rob. Okay, Rob, what do you really think?
I don't know. I do think that we're kind of coming into a time when this convergence of technology and political instability in context with the U.S. in relation to what we're seeing happen in Ukraine, and the power change that maybe is happening around China. And so you're seeing a lot of geopolitical tension that's happening around the world right now, what's happening in the Middle East and things like that. So we are kind of a little bit on a powder keg moment, right? And it does make you wonder why that's all happening now. So we may not have privy to the real kind of reasons for a lot of this going on, as I think we all recognize that, these covert agencies and around the world actually drive a lot of the world events that happen, right? It depends. There's a lot of kind of geopolitical, kind of economic and physical warfare that's going on amongst all these countries. And there is a desire to make dramatic changes that involve AI technology, robotics, autonomy, and it's putting a lot of stress, I think, on the civilian population. And I think that's really what we have to be conscious of, is that what we're seeing with these billionaires may be a reaction to inside information that they have, that there is some sort of an event coming of some sort. No idea what time frame or what that event actually would be, but they want to be prepared, right? And they have the money to be prepared, right? Where most of us maybe, if you can spend $5,000 and have a generator attached to your property and get a propane tank that'll fuel that for maybe a month. Maybe, I've actually had a RV that was attached to a large propane tank and it lasted about a month or so. So you could basically power your home for a month probably on one of these Generacs, if you were to have a power outage. But if they do an EMP event, it's gonna basically kill off anything that you have that actually would use electricity. So that generator may not be very useful to you in that context.
We
You
got
know,
let me just mention we got a great chat going on.
yeah, I
Comic
know.
Crusaders is all over it. Barb Tomlin is here. Carlos Phoenix. So many people. Joey Garrity's here. NY Girl, New York Girl is here. If I miss you, I'm sorry, but I am so glad you're joining us as the comments have been coming in. A lot of insight on this topic. All right, let's bottom line this first of all in terms of the fear. Do Russia, China, North Korea, and or Iran have the capability of putting the power grid in parts of North America out for long enough that people face starving, people face violence, people face a horrific Stone Age experience that doesn't end quickly?
Yeah.
It's certainly it's technologically possible. I think it just depends, and I think we have to just be trusting that our government has been good at ferreting out these kind of bugs that can get in infrastructure computing systems that have on-off switches that are controlled by our enemies. So it's technically possible, and it's probably in some cases likely that infiltration has occurred in a variety of different ways. I mean, malware and viruses and things like that are common things in the world. And so, it's certainly a possibility. And why it hasn't happened is also a question that I have. I think it has happened, but I think oftentimes the media will suppress that information and say it's something else, right? It's almost like there's an effort to basically not alarm the citizenry of basically a cyber attack. I know I hear rumors all the time that certain groups are under attack and your information has been compromised on this platform or that platform. Those are equivalent to the same type of an attack. So
now, I guess with Russia and China, are they too dependent still on food and other things from the U.S. where
Correct.
doing an EMP attack on us would do damage of such measure to themselves, even if we didn't know it was them, even if we didn't respond, that they'd be, starving part of their population or depriving their population of energy and needed resources. So that could be
I would tend to agree with that, Ross.
A disincentive, would you call it, or for those?
I think we have gone through the last couple of decades of building interdependencies amongst countries for economic reasons, right? So if one country goes down, like the United States, we're like, we run the monetary system, though that's kind of declining to some degree as the BRICS nations have gotten together and used, the yuan to buy oil and things like that. So the US dollar is being used less and less as the reserve currency. And that is basically pulling back the power that the United States has in the world economy. So as that retracts, then there's maybe more of an incentive for our enemies to try and take us down because they've got infrastructure established in their interrelationships. So like in Russia is getting a lot of their economic support system coming from other parts of the world now, because we did those sanctions on Russia for many years, and that cut them off, right? So what Russia has had to do is respond by creating a new infrastructure around their country, and that's independent of the U.S. So if we keep pulling back from the global economy, there's less dependency in these interrelationships, and that's why it may cause a multi-year delay in any kind of an attack on us to finally take us out. Is those interconnections and those relationships start to erode to the level that they don't need us anymore.
Exactly.
Well, I guess my fear more right now, I guess, would be either North Korea, because they don't really seem to care whether their population starves or not, or Iran because they may see it as a religious, they'll be rewarded in the next world if suffering comes back to them. So I mean, but I don't know if they have the I don't know if Iran has the capability yet or not, and I don't, I'm not sure that those in power, which is a very slim number of people in North Korea, maybe one man and his sister or whatever, but I'm not sure they want to die. So, I don't know if this stuff is traceable. They might be okay if all their population starves, but they might not be okay if they are found out to be the ones who did it. So, I guess there are things that are deterring this, but it's not real comforting to think that the scenario is out there and we have no idea whether our government, military, intelligence services are what kind of safeguards they have to prevent this from happening. Because certainly once it happens, I don't think we have the response capable. I mean, what would it take to feed millions and millions of people? And, we just don't have that capacity.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing too is the development of AI technology. Because if you think about this from the context of all these countries need is a handful of very, very talented hackers that can infiltrate systems because they're very knowledgeable about breaking into systems, right? All I need is a handful of people to do that. And I'm sure the US has more than a couple of handfuls of people that are experts at that as well. So there's probably countermeasures that exist in our security infrastructure, right? And all these countries have that. So there's always countermeasures that are going on. But I also wonder about the influence of AI technology that we're not aware of, right? AI technology that have been weaponized to do this hacking and to do these kinds of things to get into systems based on the capability of AI as a weapon too. That doesn't get talked about a lot. How AI can be turned into a weapon.
Yeah, it is changing the game. In fact, Elon is always talking about that, which is very interesting because I thought he'd be the other way. So I just want to interject here for a minute if I can. I'm reading the chat here. I'm bopping between YouTube and Facebook. And it's amazing. Like you guys, all of you in the chat are just bringing forth some like amazing insights. And I wish we could delve into each and every one of them. But, I just want to point out one. By the way, I just want to say hi to Joy Garrity, who is women's Superstar Women Entrepreneurial Network. I was on her broadcast yesterday, an interview, and
I got to catch that replay. I didn't see it live, but I got to catch that replay.
You'll have to, I'll post it later in the comments or something. But anyways, the reason I bring up Joey is because she is building up women with their own businesses and helping them move forward. And this is something to spring off of what Carlos Phoenix is saying. Yes, there's a lot, and this black swan thing that's coming, but what an opportunity for us to build as creatives, to build our own businesses, to build something outside of what maybe could be more controlled by governments or by the system, So my hat goes off to you guys. A lot of incredible insights here. But I do want to bring it over to a personal story. Again, going back to Chile, where there was a overthrow. Okay. And I recently found out there's all kinds of bunkers all over Chile. And a lot of that came from the Germans, came from that war when they all escaped Germany. And they were continuing to do their work there. But when the war happened there, the borders got closed off. The electricity was regulated. The water was regulated. The sirens would go off. Everybody have to scramble and run into some kind of shelter outside of the roads. Otherwise, you'd be killed. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is here in North America, and with all honor, I don't mean to demean you guys, but here in North America, we really have no clue as to what can happen. And so I don't think that this is conspiracy. I think that there's some real reality to some of this. Also in Argentina, I've toured a lot throughout Argentina, and I also lived in Argentina after our family was taken out of Chile for safety. We actually lived in Argentina for a while. But then as a recording artist, I went back there and I performed at various cities throughout Argentina. What I found out there is they had suffered 3 national bankruptcies, you guys. Okay, if you can think about this, you've got your money in the bank, you got your life savings in the bank. Now you have to understand in Latin America, they don't earn top dollars like we do here in North America. You know, most people are holding 2-3 jobs at a time. And they have all their money in the bank. Well, when those national bankruptcies happened, you guys, all the bank accounts got shut down. No one had access to their own money. They were starving. They were hungry. And you know what happened through all that? Exactly what Carlos is saying. They got entrepreneurial. They started building side businesses. They started doing things that made themselves self-sufficient. So I hope that didn't sound like a rant. It's just that I honestly, these black swan events, I don't think we're going to, I don't think it's conspiracy. I think there's a real reality in it. There's a reason Russia and China have all been investing in space. Does not surprise me there's a space attack. Anyways, that's just me. Like Rebecca says, I say the quiet things out loud.
Well, you know, I mean, comparatively to much of the world, Chile did a pretty impressive job of coming out of a turmoil and dictatorship and so forth, and having a fairly successful economy, and basically moving into being a first world country. And that's not a transition that most countries make, especially after what what you described. And you mentioned that there's the issue of, we've been kind of spoiled here in North America. The wars have been generally overseas, and we haven't had to live in bunkers. But that just makes it even scarier, because we're not conditioned to, at least Stone Age man and woman had to live in the Stone Age, right?
Exactly.
We have our food delivered. We have our, how are we, I'm just thinking back to, like, after Hurricane Sandy, I was over a week without electricity here in New Jersey. And it was November, wasn't the worst of winter, but no electricity, no clean running water. And what was really weird is the way it worked with some neighborhoods. You could be like without water, so you're wearing 17 sweatshirts and you haven't showered all week, and then down the block the power didn't go out, and they're walking around like it's a holiday.
I know. You know what? Right now, as we speak, if you look in the chat, Barb Tomlin is without power. She is watching this on her phone. And you're right, Barb. The power grid is nothing to ignore. It really isn't. I have to be really patient, to be honest. I'm just, it's not a rant. I'm just telling you my truth. As an immigrant, as one who has gone through a civil war, it's really hard sometimes to be in a country like Canada, where everybody starts going, oh my gosh, what Trudeau is doing is like so communist. We're under communism. I go, honey, you have no idea what communism is. When you cannot eat, when you don't have light, when tanks are going down the streets and running into houses and raping women, that's freaking communism. People don't get it. And I try to be really patient, but this is the thing, is with people building bunkers, going back to all this, and a lot of them are the high-tech company owners. There's reasons. And that's one of the reasons I brought it up, because I think just like we all sat around thinking, okay, there's all this new tech coming, and all of a sudden, boom, AI is here, and we're all going, the heck just happened? In some ways, I think we can't, in this tech age, we can't turn a blind eye. And I love that in this panel we bring up topics and you know, you, Ross, and Rebecca and Rob, topics that sometimes are a little hush hush, because I think we do need to talk about them. And that's also one thing I learned through the war, is the power of community. And one of the reasons that Chile did rise up from all that they went through is through it, and even Argentina, is they learned the power of community and being able to talk to one another. In countries like that, we weren't allowed to talk to one another. You get shot. Your family would get killed if you were talking about what was going on. But we have that freedom right now. We might not in the future.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Claudia. I think that there are a lot of people that are worried about the trend line that we're seeing around the government using technology increasingly to inflict what would be at its full deployment, potentially a communist or a technocracy type of kind of organization of society, right? And that is the modern term to describe it, as a technocracy, not a democracy, not a republic, but a organization and management of a population utilizing technology, not unlike what we see in China today. I mean, that's the example that I think that many people are looking to think that that's how we're going to be able to fully enforce all of the laws that we have. But giving government that level of granularity of control, it's not something that they've had up till now, because the technology wasn't good enough to be able to get that granular and to have that level of control. And if we're shifting more and more over to doing everything with electricity, that basically leaves us vulnerable, I guess, to those type of takedowns, right? If we're fully dependent on electricity for everything, and I've been moving that direction myself with electric car and solar panels on my roof and those kind of things, I do recognize that it is a vulnerability versus me having an oil tank that's full of oil.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't realize is that oftentimes it takes electricity to even utilize an oil tank. So it's not always because I mean, you think about a furnace has a fan, right? That fan utilizes electricity. So just because you're utilizing propane or just because you're utilizing fuel oil to heat your home doesn't take away your vulnerability from a power outage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear Barb Tomlin just got her
Yes.
stream on her computer back. Electricity is working.
Oh, that's good.
You know, she can feel like a full first-class member of the community now.
Right.
It really is, though. I mean, like, I just remember, like, forgetting to take my phone to work, my mobile phone to
Right.
work one day. And that was like 10 hours of hell, because even though in the beginning of my working life, we didn't have mobile phones, and you would just leave your house in the morning and, you know, you'd get home and you'd listen to your messages or whatever. But once you're used to having a phone to be able to connect at any time and check in and, you know, check Twitter during a break and whatever,
Yeah.
you know, it's really, really difficult to be disconnected in any way, even if it's, you know, disconnected from your computer and you just have your phone, you know, you got those files on your computer, you've got that, you know, so this, there's a lot going, there's so much going on there, but I agree with Rob in the trend lines, part of it. Yes, it's probably overblown. It's definitely overblown to say Trudeau's a communist. But it's not overblown to be concerned that he shut down the access to banking for people who protested, often on behalf of other people who they felt that there was medical overreach. And so that's a level that we weren't able to necessarily do very efficiently years ago where
Yeah, or
people
willing to
went to
do.
local banks
Right.
or kept money under the mattresses or whatever.
I know
But now that,
you
yeah,
couldn't travel coming back into Canada if you didn't clear like these specific requirements. And now we're finding out that that whole system was flawed and all this money went into it. And it was just a big rigmarole. Yeah.
I mean, nobody was. You're shutting down people's accesses to their basic needs and their rights before they're convicted of anything, because you
Exactly.
don't like what they had to say or the way they protested or what have you. And even if they were convicted, if that was money in their accounts that they obtained legally, other than being fined as a part of the penalty, this is a type of overreach in which,
Yeah.
technocracy, where the tech and government leaders can really pick the winners and losers in society.
Exactly. I mean, look at Argentina. Those people weren't doing anything wrong. It was just a black swan there 3 times. Like your country can't figure out how to run its finances, so they go bankrupt. And meanwhile, the people suffer.
Well,
How
look at the
fair is
U.S.
that? Look at
34 trillion in debt.
Right? Right. Exactly. Hey, I'm looking at comments here. Very amazing. You guys really got it going on. You love this topic.
Yeah.
And just the interest payment on that debt is the largest line item in the U.S. budget now.
Exactly.
That's frightening to think if we're ever going to get out of this or not.
So I'm going to put this question out to you guys and to the audience. So how many of us would build a bunker if we had the dollars? Think about it for a minute. How many of us would?
Well,
and why? And why?
We should probably talk about what a bunker is and what the scope of a typical bunker. Yeah, I was reading an article about it earlier, and you can have a bunker if you want on your property for as low as $21,000 if you want, right? So, but is that just like a hole in the ground with, a bed and I don't know. I don't know.
RV.
Right. And how long are you really going to be able to live in that type of a bunker, right?
Right.
And some people just, there's no way to know, right? It could be, I hate to be cruel about this, but it could turn out to be digging your own grave. Who knows? If it's underground, it's underground, right? And if something happens above surface and you can't get out of that bunker, that could be what it turns into. So, and there's the other end of the spectrum, like we've seen with these big billionaires building like mansions underground, right? That have huge resources, air ventilation and filtration and backup power and huge fuel tanks and
helicopter launch pads.
Right. Right.
For that private jet,
But really, I think if you want to have a really useful bunker, I think you're going to have to spend a couple $100,000 to have all the infrastructure that you need to actually be able to live down there and supply it with supplies, and water and fuel and all the things that you need to be able to live down there for, let's say, a couple months.
I'm reading some comments here. Wow, there's some.
Barb says she knows how to build, stock, and survive in a bunker because she was in New Mexico during the 60s when having a bunker was a big deal.
Everyone
Comic Crusaders and NY Girl both say NYC IRL. Sorry, I was reading it. I put a G in there with my poor eyesight. It's NYC IRL in real life, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, agrees no bunker for me.
Right.
Barb said there are properties here in Albuquerque that have had bunkers in them today. Yeah, I mean, but it's not only the expense of building the bunker. Then there's, are you going to have security? Will that security remain loyal to you? Are they going to be happy being? Yeah, we're in anarchy. We're in a world where there's no more state power, and down there in your bunker, Mr. Zuckerberg or whoever it is, right? You've got your billions hidden away, and you've got all the luxuries of the world. Your security staff for $20 an hour is going to be thrilled to sit there holding guns just in case, or they want to partake in the good life that you've set up for yourself and your family under. So there's all these, like, the worst of human nature would come out in the situation.
Right.
Exactly.
When all the rules go away and, survival is in doubt. I'm just not sure that there's a safe and affordable way most people could do this. I mean, maybe if you only had your family and relied on extended family and stuff like that, even families may turn against each other, stuck in a bunker with each other for how long, with limited resources. And I don't know. I'd like to paint a pleasant scenario of this, but I don't know that. I I think being the first one to be hit by the missile is probably, let it go close to me, knock me out, I'm gone, and
Hey,
let other people get worried.
can you
Or,
wonder?
or maybe I'll join Comic Crusaders and just stay above ground and fight it out.
There you go. Yeah. Or, now with all the space stuff going on and the space station and the trips up there, you go, okay, if the bunkers are not going to be enough for some people, they might have a bunker in space.
I like
Yeah,
that Chris
bunker
Stone asked.
cast.
Chris Stone from Dealcasters asks, "Is this a bunker cast today?" It kind of is. It kind of is. We should be
Yeah.
live from a bunker. We should do another show on this live from a bunker.
Live.
Right.
Somebody with a bunker to give us a tour. Maybe when we're all together
This is
for some
my
event.
bunker. Do you want to see my bunker? See?
Well, and that's another thing you're going to need in the bunker is Wi-Fi, right?
And congas.
Congas. Come on in my bunker. Hey, everybody, it's a party. You come to my bunker and we'll salsa the night away.
Right.
Oh my, wow.
So what would you take? Let's say this was all feasible, right?
Yeah.
And you had your small bunker.
Mhm.
It was all set up so you could survive for months, but you have limited room. What would you take? What would you make sure was in your bunker?
My laptop.
Well, basic survival stuff, right? I mean, that's food, water, medical supplies, all the things that a lot of podcasts out there are promoting, trying to sell right now. I don't know if you've seen that. I'm sure you have, Ross. That a lot of the big podcasters are talking about, getting survival food and getting medical supplies and building a generator on your property and stuff like that as a countermeasure to an attack. So it's a common thing out there now. People are talking about. Even Costco's, I've seen online that certain Costco's around the country are actually selling these type of packets, right? That you can walk out, with like a bucket with the, 2 weeks of food in there, right?
Yeah.
I like how Alex thinks. He's like, he's going to take a Zoom P4 recorder audio interface.
He's going to keep podcasting from the bunker.
I'll tell you what, the Mix-Free 3 will keep working. That'll survive a nuclear attack. That thing's so well built. I'll take that with me.
And
maybe an Electro Voice RE50 that I can fight.
There you
can
go.
Use to fight off the intruders.
You might have posted this already, but I just caught my eye on YouTube. NYCIRL says Twilight Zone had an episode where the neighbors attacked one guy in the neighborhood who had a bunker. Okay, that brings up a whole other thing. If you have a bunker, some of your neighbors might not like you. Some of your family might not like you. Some of your friends might not like you. If you don't have a bunker, then you're in the club, or you're in the club, or you're out the club.
Well, if your bunker is stocked full of food and your neighbors didn't
And a
stock up on
Roadcaster
food,
Pro and Shure SM7B.
That's right.
guess where they're going? They're going to
Krista.
your bunker too and going to break down your door to get your
Well,
food.
you know what was funny? In one of the articles that Claudia had posted into our chat, I'm reading the comments, and some guy said he's been building a bunker and whatever, and all the neighbors keep looking at him and saying that he's crazy and like,
Yeah.
what kind of loony extremist are you and whatever.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, they ask if anything happens, you'll take us in your bunker, right?
Right.
He goes, no. No,
I'm gonna lock the door.
that's for me
you
and my
can't get in.
family.
Right.
You don't get to make fun of me as a loon for 30 years and ask.
Yes.
But anyway, since you built it,
Yeah.
Okay.
I had the forethought of doing this. I shouldn't have to, help everybody with this, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then I'm going to throw this monkey wrench in. Okay. So why is Zuckerberg then building these brain chip implant things? And he's totally anti AI. And why is he doing that? Not Zuckerberg, Elon. Did I say Elon? Who did I mention? Elon.
Yeah.
Why is Elon doing that? With those,
well,
with those
I don't think
things
he's
work
anti-AI. I think he's scared of uncontrolled AI.
That's right. You got it right. So why would he be building this other technology to which he's already started? He's got like private surgery rooms where he's already started this process.
Oh, of putting brain
With
implants?
humans. Yeah. So are these going to work better in bunkers or in space?
Well, if you think about him building the Starlink system, right? That will basically canvas the entire globe of 5G signal, right? And increasingly we'll be able to pick up or have cell phone coverage that would be equivalent to a satellite phone, right?
Yes.
Is the idea behind this.
Okay.
That kind of capability also works well with his robots too, because his robots are going to be Wi-Fi connected as well, or
Right.
some sort of a data connection of some sort. It could be the same kind of data connection that like our mobile phone carriers use, right? Which isn't really Wi-Fi, but it is a high energy radio frequency that delivers data, two-way data connections, right?
Yeah. Well, and this is it. Like, my thinking is, okay, it's implanted. That means we can control our cell phones with it, our laptops with it. We can go on the internet with it. We can send our cars to do whatever with it in the event that there's a black swan event and we're in our bunkers and we have no access to anything.
Right from our brains.
Right from our brains.
From that device in our brains. And of course, there's no negative way that anybody could use that device against us to reprogram us or.
Well, and you wonder about that. You wonder, like, okay, if that thing's in there, is there some kind of chip also in there where all of a sudden, if there was a one world government, that they could all send commands to us?
Yeah. I mean, this is a very interesting comment by NYC IRL. I feel that Elon is not afraid of AI. I think he's just pulling up the ladder behind him. I hadn't thought of it that way, but
Now thought of it that way. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Totally.
Common Crusader says, I respect Elon for his fight for free speech for us and Ireland and everywhere X is, but this new tech is insane. The New World Order is here. Yeah,
So
I mean, that's.
time there were bunkers through the wars and all that. We just know that they would go in there and they go hiding from bombs. They just go hiding. But now with the new tech, and this is where I was circling back around as I was digging into this a little bit, is how is all our new tech now going to be affecting these bunkers and yeah.
Well, I think the argument is that there isn't any tech around at that point, right? But that's hard to think as well. I mean, if you think about kind of this infrastructure going up into space, right? That also makes it possible for communications to continue here on the ground if there's devices that are protected from being able to be attacked, let's say with an EMF type of an attack, that we could still connect with our mobile phones because the satellites are up in orbit, not on the ground. So if there's any kind of a EMP attack that impacts ground-based things, that there may be a way of maintaining some infrastructure around that. I think there's just so many, I guess, complicating issues around this whole topic that involve new tech, where we're going, advanced technology. There's a lot of rumors that there's technology out there that exists with these big military contractors that will make us all energy independent, or how these rumors about the propulsion technology that these UFOs or UAPs have may actually be technology that are part of our military industrial complex that we picked up or back learned from captured spacecraft or whatever. There's a lot of talk about that I hear online. Whether or not it's true, I have no evidence of it, that they actually have that. I know that Tesla, not Tesla the company, but the original Tesla, created a bunch of technology like back in the 30s and 40s and things like that that have been shown to generate electricity out of our environment, right? Is able to extract and generate electricity out of our environment and our energy fields that exist in our world today. That is technology that isn't profitable for certain people that want to sell us energy. So, so you have to wonder about these kind of things too. There's just a lot of speculation right now, a lot of conjecture, a lot of people with wishful thinking, a lot of people playing with technology now as we kind of move into a new technological era. It's almost like another industrial revolution that's happening right now. And a lot of people don't know where it's going to wind up.
Yeah, it's it's interesting times.
Oh, it most definitely.
It's the most interesting times we could possibly live in, but it's also sometimes boring times might be
boring.
And just normal, but you know what? But it's also human history. It's war and it's disasters and it's change, and I'm sure whenever we would be living, people who lived through the Cold War, people who lived through World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, all these things, sometimes the issues we're facing with technology and so forth, at least yet, haven't been as bad. I think something's interesting that Barb said. She said living through bomb shelters. I think she said, if you lived through the atom bomb scare here in New Mexico, you will learn that neighborhoods were taught about bunkers and the importance of community in relationship to having bunkers in their area. That kind of brings me back to kindergarten, because I must have been the last class in America that had to do this, but I remember first grade, I think I remember
duck and cover, right?
In case a nuclear weapon was coming in, we had two things to do in an air raid drill. One was get under the desk, and the other was like go against the wall and put your hands on your head or something like that.
That's really going to help you.
Which I think is what's still considered in the military the perfect defense for any kind of nuclear.
Oh, right.
Rob was the kid in the class that just looked at the teacher and went, "Yeah, no,
that's not gonna work."
Yeah, in my case,
it's so weird to have had that for 1 year and then they stopped doing it. I didn't do that all through school. It was like 1 year.
Well, as they come up with new tech, at first it seems like, what are they thinking? What? But now as we kind of delve into this topic a little more, you start to kind of see, like, they're looking at a bigger picture here. They're looking underground. They're looking up above us. And so, the new tech, it actually isn't that far off with some of the things that are being developed.
Yeah. Comic Crusader says, wow, I never did that in NYC schools. Heck, teachers were like, fend for yourselves.
NYC schools.
Yeah, probably nuclear attack was the last thing you were afraid of.
Right?
Also back in
Only
the
New York.
also, if you think back to the earlier years, a lot of the subway systems, let's say in London
Yeah.
or in New York, were considered to be bomb shelters.
Yes.
So if you
You
have
know,
underground transportation, those could be used as
Exactly.
underground bunkers, right?
exactly. I have a friend who's an architect, and he's told me that he increasingly has people, clients that want him to design homes with solar panels. Now, my dad too is a builder and architect, and he put solar panels on our home.
Well, I have them. Yeah,
You have them
right
too?
above me.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, way back. And but also they're asking for these underground bunkers.
Yeah.
In their own homes. So they're not going out and buying an island or property somewhere else. They're just, it kind of reminds me probably like in Kansas where, the Wizard of Oz, in the storm king that they're on, they go down to the bunker.
Yeah. Well, you just jackhammer a floor in your basement and dig it out, right?
Yeah.
So
So anyways, to bring it back, like this could be like a lot of doom and gloom, and I don't want to leave people like that. Like, how can we prepare? How can we, there's various ways you can go to Costco, get that big pack, the survival kit, whatever. But how do we prepare as creatives, as entrepreneurs? How do we prepare our businesses? How do we keep building with a forward-looking, kind of goals?
Well, my business as a talk show host is over.
And New
No
York City
electricity,
schools.
no radio, no live streaming.
I'm gonna grab something.
I'm gonna have to find something else to do.
Well,
Right.
I'm gonna pull this up, and the reason I'm pulling it up is because there is pages and pages and pages of amazing people, creatives, entrepreneurs. This is community. This is people building businesses that are out of the box. And also, my hat goes off to Ross for building community and including people. So, kind of going back to this, so it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, the whole talk about bunkers and space attacks and all that can be overwhelming.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've for the most part tried not to think about it.
Until I bring it up.
Yeah, it was like getting ready for the show is like, wow, this is a little more stressful than talking about the latest with video podcasts and RSS.
Then I'll bring you
Right.
to the Tongas. That's a little later.
Yeah. What's interesting is neither of us are, I would consider to be experts on this kind of topic. So it's a lot of what we're talking about may reflect the spectrum of how normal people think about this stuff too, and how we all kind of process this information, which is challenging for all of us. This is not an easy topic for us, purely from the danger of that it just creates a lot of stress inside of us, and that's also damaging to the psychology of our lives and how we live our lives every day. To be worried about these kind of things is not exactly constructive to our society. I mean, if we're all living in a certain kind of base level of fear, of uncertainty about what the future looks like, it kind of gets in the way of productivity. It gets in the way of
So true.
building bonds with other people, and it
Yes.
causes people to think more about themselves instead of thinking about others.
Yes.
And I think that's the danger of what we're seeing happen in the world right now.
So good. Patricia Summer says, expect change and be flexible.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
Expect change. Kind of like when you build a business plan. You can't build a business plan without putting your obstacles and challenges
Yeah.
in. So as
Things don't always work out the way you had hoped, and
No.
And
have a plan B so you know if there's some change coming, how
right.
you're going to turn on a dime. Sometimes it's going to be very quick.
And it's increasingly becoming challenging to be able to predict outcomes to just about everything in our lives. And that's very stressful. It's not how it used to be. I mean, I grew up in an era that didn't have the internet, didn't have a lot of technology, and certainly life wasn't like that. There were other challenges that were involved at that time, but certainly not at the level that we are psychologically forced to endure today. This
Yeah.
instant communications, global communications, just is very stressful, and a lot of people I think are starting to pull back and disconnect increasingly with this barrage of uncertainty and fear, and people just can't handle it anymore. And that's also dangerous too, because then we start to create a civilization that's uninformed about what's happening in the world.
Exactly. And Carlos Phoenix says, so why are we talking about doom? Okay, Carlos, I'm just going to say this to you, bro, is what Patricia said. Oh, by the way, great question, Carlos. Expect change and be flexible. Like we said, even in a business, developing a business plan, what are you going to be your obstacles and challenges? So that's not doom. That's more, let's be aware of what's happening. If we weren't aware of what, Elon was doing with Tesla, Rob would not have a Tesla vehicle that he loves so much, that drives him around everywhere and talks to him and serves ham, wine, and cheese. And
Right. Oh, it does all that. Yeah.
now I think it's just good.
Yeah, it even brushes my teeth too, Claudia. So
it brushes your teeth. You get
well, it's a robot, I mean, it drives itself.
It doesn't turn off.
It's always on. It's always there for me.
Was it your Valentine's date yesterday?
Yes.
It was. Did it
went out for
romance
a very romantic drive together. Yes,
all your favorite romantic songs on the radio.
Yes.
And, oh, wonderful. Hilarious. So
Tessie is what I call her. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Brigitte. Thanks for joining us.
Part of this show is just bringing to light some things that are being developed in tech and some things that maybe are happening in recent news, because it's good to be informed.
I like what Comic Crusader says here. I'm definitely happy not have had this tech in my youth. My life would have been very different. I agree with that. I think I can't imagine not being able to disconnect from school and have whatever conversations, drama, nonsense, obligations, competitions, just going on. Like, you left school, you could just hang out with your friends. You could do what you wanted to do, sort of free from all the other influences and connections and whatever. And I mean, we're not used to being connected to people 24/7 around the world. I mean, even I think parents are too connected to kids, and kids are too connected to their they don't have that time where they go wander off with other kids in the neighborhood and figure out how to play some game or do something or cause some trouble or something like that, and then figure it out and come back home and to the safety of home. Instead, it's this sort of, you're always half in the world, right? And too much of that half in the world is through your phone.
Right. And this is where that health piece comes in, and peeling away and same with this whole bunker talk. I mean, it's good for us to be aware of stuff. I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this in the news in the coming years, especially even with the space stuff. But it is so important, again, to get back to our humanity and what's healthy for us, and peeling away and limiting certain amounts of influence to do with some things that might instill fear.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine being 14 years old or something and you're worrying about I didn't get any likes on an Instagram post or something like that?
Oh, exactly.
Could anything be less important in the real world? And yet, it may be important to some degree, you know, when you're doing it for your business or whatever. But for kids, just, you know, like, shouldn't they be like exploring who they are as people and like how
Exactly.
to socialize and all that stuff? And instead, it's like, how do I do better than my friends on my Instagram, or how do I show
Exactly.
everybody how cool I am on my Instagram, which is, you know,
Exactly.
basically teaching kids to put on an act, do
Right?
and
Or
then evaluate their self-worth based on a popularity contest
well,
online. I mean,
yeah.
it's insane.
And then we've got the whole other challenge where, you know, some females have been attacked with people creating AI images of them, inappropriate ones.
Right.
And even as a youngster, like, how do you deal with that? And then they're circulated. So, you know, that kind of thing, the bullying and all that. So that's why it's so important to bring it back home, to bring it back to humanity, because this younger generation, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I have a lot of young people in my life, and the things they go through, and you know, it can get very, very discouraging, devastating, because the reality is most parents didn't know all this was going to be happening so quick. They didn't have the manual. Their parents didn't teach them how to deal with cyberbullying and stuff like that. So
Brigitte, who lives in South Africa, says we've been living in uncertainty for years now. First, the water crisis, now an energy crisis. We have 3 2-hour outages on the daily and sometimes 4-hour outages. It does add a layer of stress because planning is challenging. But on the positive side, we have no threat that makes us want to even consider bunkers.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
No threat that they're maybe aware of, right? It's hard to say, right? You know, I mean, that's how all this has affected me, right? Is that we're always thinking that it's possible, right? I mean,
Right.
I went through what happened with, I wasn't there, but I went through 9/11, and we've all gone through COVID, and we've all experienced those kind of global crises of sorts. You know, there's nothing to think that isn't going to happen again at some point. Why wouldn't it? It's always happened. Some war, some global war, some attack on us or something like that. Now that's never happened here in the US, where we've been attacked necessarily like on a nation level. I mean, short of 9/11, right?
Pearl
But to
Harbor.
have hackers attack our infrastructure on a global basis, or not global, but a nationwide basis all at once, that has never happened before.
Mhm.
So
Didn't
a
the
lot of this
government put
stuff is
out a list
speculation.
of sites that that shouldn't be attacked?
Right.
There was a stroke of
Don't attack
genius.
this, don't attack that.
Right.
These 16 sites are off
That's right.
limits.
Right.
In
Don't
case you want to know how to hurt us, it
right.
would be to
Go
attack one
here
of
and
these, but we're not
go there.
allowing that.
Right.
We're asking you nicely.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to send a strongly worded letter to the UN.
Well, Rob, you can just ask your car, like, where's the next attack, and just move me somewhere else, right?
Right. I think it's a great question for Chat GPT 4.
I think so.
It's like,
We should
well,
pull up Chat GPT. We should pull
when's
it
the
up
next
and
attack
ask.
coming? Right.
Can we do that? Can we ask Chat GPT about bunkers? And
Yeah, ask Chat. I have great conversations with ChatGPT.
can we pull it up? Actually, we could ask the audience if they have a question for Chat GPT.
Though I've seen a lot of I query a lot with ChatGPT, trying to challenge it sometimes in its assumptions, and what it will do if you challenge it enough,
Rob
it
the Rebel.
it will change its answers. So
Really?
its instincts right at the beginning is to tell you something different than it would if you say, well, that's not really correct.
Well, I just asked ChatGPT, do I need to build a bunker?
Okay.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, the answer, the first paragraph answer is the need to build a bunker depends on various factors, including your personal concerns, the specific threats you aim to protect against, and your geographical location. Here are some considerations. Personal concerns. People build bunkers for a variety of reasons, such as fear of natural disasters, war, civil unrest, or a desire for a secure place in case of emergencies. Assessing your concerns can help determine if a bunker is a reasonable solution. And then it goes down specific threats, geographical locations, local regulations and costs, alternative safety measures, community resources. Alternative safety measures sounds interesting. What are our other options besides building a bunker? In many cases, there are alternatives or additional safety measures that can be taken without building a bunker. These might include emergency preparedness plans, building safe rooms within your home, or simply having a well thought out evacuation plan. Community resources. Sometimes community or public shelters can offer protection during emergencies, reducing the need for individual bunkers. If you're seriously considering building a bunker, it's advisable to consult with professionals in disaster preparedness and construction, as well as local authorities, to ensure that any action you take is informed, legal, and as safe as possible.
That's what share. Yeah, I did a query to chat GPT 2, and it's coming back with a bunch of information.
You want me to share this?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay.
Barb's going to create a Udemy course on bunker. She says, this was just the time to create a Udemy course on bunker survival in the new century. Go, Barb.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I asked it, I said, does one need to build a home bunker, and how big should it be to survive for a month for 3 people? And so its answer came back just on the size and space requirements, a minimum of 10 square feet per person, a space of at least 300 to 500 square feet in total might be considered a starting point, with adjustments based on specific needs and desired comfort levels. And then it talks about ventilation. Proper ventilation is critical in a bunker to ensure a supply of fresh air to prevent a buildup of carbon dioxide or harmful gases.
300 to 500 square feet. You're talking 1.5 million in New York City.
Right.
For an apartment.
Right, and it says for a water supply, 1 gallon of water per day per person. So that means that you would need to have at least a 90-gallon water tank, that's a good size water tank, and more if you want. And then food storage, non-perishable food that would require minimal preparation at best for bunker storage. It says here it doesn't really give a quantity of food, but which is surprising. It gave a quantity of everything else. And then waste management. Let's say an often overlooked aspects of bunker design is how to manage waste, right? Sewage system, composting toilets, chemical toilets are options to consider. And then the next one is power and heating. So depending on your location in the season, heating might be necessary. Plus additional lighting, cooking, possibility of powering communication devices, and a ventilation system like was mentioned before. Renewable energy sources like solar panels, battery storage, generators should be considered or can be considered. And a fuel storage. So, and emergency medical supplies, a well-stocked first aid kit, right? From, a bunch of different advertisers on podcasts these days. And then communications, having a way to communicate to the outside world is crucial to know what's happening above ground, I guess, and security. A bunker needs to have a reasonable amount of security to protect against unauthorized entry.
There you go. That was your point, Rob.
There's a lot of work to be done.
That sounds
the question is, I guess, depending on how much money and time you have left, how much of it do you want to spend on this versus making the most out of every day that you have, and what your money can do positively to enhance your life, rather than spending it all. Like if you have Zuckerberg money, then I guess it makes, like Elon Musk, whatever, then explore another planet, dig a hole, 20,000 feet under the ground, whatever. I guess you have so much that like it doesn't impact you and other people to do it. But I can't imagine wasting the rest of my life like keeping the upkeep and the time and everything. But
Carlos says he's going to be having a bunker masterclass and how to market it with SEO and social media strategies when you are in a bunker with AI.
Well, you're not gonna have live streaming in the course. You're gonna rely on just print and text.
There you go, Carlos. Yeah. See, there we got the entrepreneurial juices going.
Create an ideal bunker.
Oh my. Okay, so
and don't say Archie.
The time ago.
There you go, right there.
There you go. Yeah.
Holy moly!
Look at those tanks at the bottom.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 compartments.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors. 5 floors. Are those solar panels at the top?
Yeah. Looks like it.
So
how did you get the image? How did you get it to give you an image?
I asked GPT to create an image of an ideal bunker. And this is what it came back with.
Wow.
I saw a bunker when I was doing all these research for today. I saw this bunker where on the ceiling they had LED screens with sky images, so it looked like you had like a sky.
You're outside.
Yeah, it's quite something.
That is quite a master bedroom there. You see that off to the right in the middle there?
Go back. Let's see.
Is that a swimming pool right there, or what is that
like
on the left? And then all those other bedrooms. There's one up above.
Jacuzzi or something.
That's like looks like a 4 bedroom, maybe bunker. Looks like.
Maybe, hey.
And then a bunch of tanks in the below part, and then it looks like a kind of like a area, a communal area of sorts, and maybe a kitchen. Yeah, that's interesting.
I was approached once by a group they told me they were buying property like out East Coast, and I was like, okay. And then they said they were building all these shelters, and there was only certain people invited to be part of this whole thing. I was like, what? That's community at a whole other level, baby. I mean, what, they're gonna build your bunkers and have everybody living together down there? Yikes, like a city.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to create another bunker option here in a second that we can see. So you can see what...
Only if Rebecca were here.
Yeah.
I mean, girlfriend would have something to say about this, I'm sure.
Okay, this one is similar.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Looks more integrated. Like the other one looked like it had barriers between the rooms or something.
Yeah, does that one have like a circular elevator or something? Is that what that is? Or is that...
I don't know.
What is that?
Or is that part of the ventilation?
It's probably part of the ventilation.
Rob, type in bunker.
That's a nice sofa there on the first floor left side.
A bunker for Ross Brand.
What would Ross Brand want in his bunker?
Yes.
Tell us. Yes.
Tell it it needs tech.
Actually, I think I like this one better than the other one.
You do? It's
more open. It's more open.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the compartments like the other one did.
Yeah, if I had my pick of bunkers, I would go with this one over the
You
other
guys
one.
need the introvert escape room, though.
The introvert escape room.
The whole thing is an introvert escape project.
Right. Totally.
The timeout room.
Right.
The get away from me. Talk to the hand. You extroverts, get away from me. And Rob the Rebel. But mind you, too, we could have like a special room for Tinder's Ross Brand AI in there.
Wow. Yeah, you could invite some guests with you to your bunker, Ross.
Oh, if I had a bunker like this, I'd be very popular come Armageddon or whatever.
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah, I asked it to create a smaller version.
Could be the 100 bunker.
Only the people who got their predictions in. 113 people who come in. Everybody else should have gotten them in time.
Okay, here's a smaller version.
Boy, that doesn't look like a good life compared to that.
Wow, look at that.
It's not that small though. It's just not. It doesn't look fancy like the nice hardwood floors.
Oh, it's definitely much smaller because if you look at the size of the bedrooms, they're barely just enough room to have a bed.
Right.
Just
I'm just saying, like,
is-
even that's big though, in that it's
Hi,
like it's
Zeph.
3 floor. Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Zeb Zan is here.
NYC IRL says me, I should get a bunker.
That's right. We're selling bunkers today. Just kidding.
Hey,
Yeah,
Zeph Zan. Nice
Hi,
to
Bridget.
Yeah, I don't know
see
about
Zeph.
you guys, but I want a like a fire station pole that I can
You can slide right down to the first floor
right
and get to that
exactly.
refrigerator before anybody else does.
Right, just to beat them, so I don't have to go down those little stair things, those ladders.
Rob is going to be living out his Batman dreams there.
One thing that is missing here is being able to get around to each of those compartments. I don't see a way of doing that. Do you?
I don't either. Everybody's in their own little shell, and that's it. You don't get
Right,
out.
right. And once you get in there, you can't get out. You're basically trapped. So
That's right.
anyway, I think we've
Wow.
basically.
Chris
I think there's
Rossetti
probably
says. Chris Rossetti says, when I was a kid during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the neighbors turned the septic tank into a front yard bunker. Wow.
Nice. Eek. That's pretty gross.
You do what you got to do to survive, I guess.
The septic tank. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well,
You're looking for a luxurious, but small bunker.
huge
Uh-huh.
bunker.
those are something.
Show
else.
us a picture of Zuckerberg's proposed bunker.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at that. So I don't know who's all working on that thing, but
He'll find out what it's like not to get notifications either.
Ross.
Well, I think what's being created here is a Mark Zuckerberg, or even what's his name from Amazon? Bezos.
Yeah, a new and Edith bunker. Chris.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Oh wow!
Wow! It even has a runway on the surface. You see that?
That's like.
That's for when Rob comes to visit. In his private jet.
That doesn't make it easier for the military to get away after they bombed your bunker.
Wow, is that a swimming pool at the very top up there?
Looks like it.
Wow, that is huge. I guess it gave me what I was looking for.
Wow.
Huge.
Can you zoom in on it at all?
Yeah, I can probably get in a little closer. Let's see.
Pick your room.
No ping pong table, no basketball court. I mean, you got a lot of space there.
Where's the tech?
Let's make this thing fun.
Let's see. So we got that one. That
We're
one.
become bunker designers. I know it. If Rebecca
I don't know why
was here, she'd be like, how do we turn this into a business?
Get citation. I don't know what that is. I can't seem to get rid of that. So
what if you right click it and open it up in another tab?
Chris Rossetti.
And then click it again and you blow it up. It might not. I don't know.
It'll probably do the same thing. It doesn't really seem like it.
Jay says, I think we better start working harder on our relationships. You never know who you may need to share a bunker with and for how long.
That's right. Hey, will ChatGPT give you audio?
You can feed it audio and it will transcribe it.
Now, Chris Rossetti said on you and in Edith Bunker. I wanted to hear Edith Bunker sing, you know how she sings on the show?
There's a person down here.
Oh, there's a person.
In these.
Is that Zuckerberg?
See here.
Oh, yeah, it's a little man.
Well, Lots of really long couches in here too. See this?
Yeah, okay, so
What the heck is that?
He's
What the
sitting
heck?
there. He's sitting there in bunker. I know exactly what he's thinking. If they put a link to YouTube, I'm gonna stifle that. Combining Archie Bunker. and Mark's
monetize bunker.
Bert.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Wow.
stifle their reach because they put a link to YouTube in there.
This one even has looks like a library. You see that with all the books behind?
Oh yeah,
Back here?
Nice.
that's to keep
Yeah.
us all sane.
Yes,
what
since
is
we
this?
won't
Is
be
this like
able
a-
to do much on our phones. At least we'll have books to read.
So what is this? A nursery or something?
I don't know.
What's this here?
Well, you got that many rooms. Somebody's having babies.
Lots and lots of chairs.
Okay,
Wow.
listen for a second.
That's a serious swimming pool.
Television City in Hollywood. Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Oh boy.
Bunkers.
Bunker
I'm
Buster.
singing. Ready?
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days. And you knew when you were
All right. Sorry, I got that in my head. I just had to grace you with that song.
Now, would Wi-Fi work in a bunker?
Yeah, it should.
Well, you kind of wonder, right? That's why I was saying, if Elon is creating all this other tech, you wonder why.
So, okay, so you could set up your own Wi-Fi. Like, how would Wi-Fi work if like the grid was out, or it
Right.
wouldn't
Well, it would have to probably,
reach the satellites and stuff?
yeah, it'd have to go up to a satellite.
That wouldn't be an easy build, right? For
And that's where your brain
like a single person.
There
Like
you go.
you're just by yourself. Can I? How hard would that be? Pretty hard, right?
So I just did a
Hmm.
show me a bunker buster. There it is.
Oh man, you crack me up. Okay.
All right, we're getting a little loopy here.
Totally.
Yep, that's it. There's your bunker buster.
There's your bunker buster.
So
Wow.
I
Why
think
is
it's
it going
got
in
the
the
wrong
opposite direction?
context here. I think it has the wrong context.
It's flying
here. I think
away from the bunker.
It's exploding, but it's flying away from the bunker. That doesn't make any sense.
It's exploding out the wrong side.
It's not actually blowing up the bunker.
You're right. There must be, like with these big tech giants building their bunkers, a way to get out.
Right.
Like if there's an emergency, they just blast right out on a rocket.
Right.
Right. Totally.
We're out of here. We're going to the moon now. We're going to our other bunker on the station.
Try blowing up
We got Rob on a roll.
the bunker.
He's nerding out on us with the bunker GPT.
Right.
Oh man.
Oh, can't assist with that. I guess that's too violent. So
Oh.
Aw.
darn.
Thank you, Chat GPT.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing so much with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask?
You can ask it anything.
Can you ask who Ross Brand's Valentine's date was?
It's not gonna, it only goes back till April 2023 or something.
I don't
So-
see its ability to put audio in here right now. I thought they had that ability in here. It
Chris-
could be
Chris Rossetti
could be
says the
covered
sleep
up here.
number bed numbers default to 6 feet under in a bunker. Barb said this is getting so blab-esque.
Yeah,
we
it's
needed
totally
to
blab-esque.
bring back something blab-like. Those are
Right.
good days.
Well, we needed to laugh, Barb. I mean, it was getting pretty heavy there, and so this is part of our mental break. Have a laugh with us if you want, so you don't have doom and gloom all day. Besides, I want to learn to sing like Edith Bunker, so I have to.
right.
You should open a show
just
that
another
way
form of
sometime.
bunker busting. Right.
Exactly. Guys, we are like way over time here. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just getting warmed
right.
up.
We're just getting warmed up.
Well, thank you everybody for hanging out and laughing along with us. And I mean, it started out as a serious discussion and a little depressing at times, but it was also fun. And we're talking about, like Claudia said earlier, we're talking about the quiet things that people don't really say out loud. And that's one of the parts of this show I think is interesting because we can't ignore everything. We can't ignore people are in the hope of being very polite and not stepping on any toes. There's too much that's not being discussed, and bunkers is something that's happening whether we like it or not.
Well, I think we just came up with some really good ideas for what kind of bunker we might want to all build, right?
Yeah. I'll order one of those from that picture, the fancy bunker. The luxurious bunker.
I want to move in.
Yeah.
Not just,
My bunker needs congas.
right.
Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.
I would love to have that just as my regular house, just hang
Right.
out there.
Uh-huh.
I can be a hermit.
Well, thank you, Comic Crusaders. Thank you, NYCIRL, Brigetti, Barb Tomlin, Joey Garrity was here earlier, Chris Stone, Chris Rossetti, everybody who's been a part of this. We appreciate it. And we will be back next week, 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, with another episode of the StreamLeader Report Live Panel. And with that, we'll say, see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Okay.